How do you explain this, that the economy by the numbers seems to be good, and yet people don't seem to be feeling it?
Well, first of all, let's look at how we measure the economy. Certainly, the jobs numbers were very strong. We also tend to look at the stock market, which is the S&P 500 hitting new highs. That only represents 40% of the jobs in America. The other 60% come from small businesses, 5 to 500 people. That's more of the kitchen table everywhere America, Champaign, Urbana, Illinois, for example. But here's why there's a crack in the narrative. You have to go back to pre-pandemic almost 3 years ago and look at inflation on things that really matter to individuals and families. Buying food, for example. Yeah, inflation stopped growing, but it's still 33% more expensive to buy protein than it was pre-pandemic. Gasoline, 25% more expensive than it was pre-pandemic. Housing is a huge problem because rates have gone up. So if you have a mortgage at 3.5%, you're never going to sell your affordable house because your new mortgage is 7, 8%. And so rents are really problematic, particularly in metropolitan areas. This is where individuals deal with the economy, and that's what we're talking about. Affordability. No, it's not affordable like it was 3 years ago. Inflation has really nailed you if you're one of those people, and that's 60% of American voters, which is causing problems as we go into presidential elections. And one last thing to think about, which isn't discussed very often, the Jobs Act, the Inflation Act, the Chips and Science Act, all put out there. That's free helicopter money. That's $2.5 trillion of free money coming out of helicopters in the economy. No wonder there's inflation. The Anti-Inflation Act, that's inflationary. So all of that put together puts you as an individual in a bad place for affordability.
All right, so it sounds like what you're saying is that, yes, it's true, right? No one's lying about these numbers, right? The numbers are real. You know, the 3.3% overall economic growth, the wages up, jobs added per month. But even if your wages are up, if inflation is up more, and I'm not saying it necessarily is, but if it is, then you're not going to feel like anything is any easier. It's still going to be harder.
That's right. Inflation's gone up way higher than wage growth inflation. So 4% is not 33% when you're talking about buying a piece of meat or fish.
So this could explain then
gasoline.
Why so many people don't believe, President Biden has been sort of touting what he's calling Bidenomics and touting the economy. And look, again, as we talked about, yes, there are things to tout. But when a lot of people are saying, wait a sec, I don't think the economy is very good, the explanation is all inflation?
Well, actually, the economy is defined by an individual's ability to purchase goods and services when you're a voter. That's what we're talking about. So if you're actually just getting out of college and you have to go rent a condo in San Francisco or Los Angeles, Chicago, Detroit, New York, $2,800 for a rat hole, that's a lot of money. And you don't have a job. The average job in America is $62,000. So everything you need to live by, which is rent, food, transportation, that's still up 33.33% from when you started college pre-pandemic. That's the problem. And it doesn't matter what party you're in. This isn't really a partisan issue. It's a bipartisan issue. It's hard to live in America when the average salary is $62,000, and that core inflation and all the things you need to live is still up over 30%. So, we do all these big measures about job and S&P 500 and stock markets. That's not the average guy.
Yeah.
That's not the guy who pulls the ballot in the voting box. And so if you're running for election, regardless of what party you are, you've got to appeal to an individual who does not feel better off than they were pre-pandemic. That's the bottom line.
All right, so final question. My son is 11, and he's a huge fan of Shark Tank, all right? He likes to think of himself, I think, as an entrepreneur maybe at some point in the future. What advice do you give to my 11-year-old son who wants to be an entrepreneur, wants to create something interesting moving forward?
Well, I say this to all my young entrepreneurs, my CEOs, and of course, we're very proud of what we built on Shark Tank. We had no idea this would go global. We're on 42 countries. I'm the most hated guy in Austria. Who know? Who would know that?
You're not just hated in Austria, by the way, in case you're wondering.
Yeah, no, but well, they say I'm the mean shark. I'm the only shark that tells the truth.
Yeah.
But what I'm telling everybody now is get a job for 24 months working for somebody else before you launch your own career. Learn what it takes to be an employee before you're a boss. This is the secret sauce of what they learned over in Switzerland and in Europe, the apprentice programs that we kind of missed in America. It's great to understand and get your chops going working for somebody else, then break out in something you're passionate about, start a company, be an entrepreneur. It's an amazing journey, not a destination, but it's the only way you can set yourself free in America. It's the American dream, and I support everybody that wants to try it. I am small business. We are the economy, and I'm so proud of all of us.
I think he was hoping you'd say create a YouTube channel. Kevin O'Leary, thank you very much for coming on. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.